My name is Kai. I'm 25 years old. I work remotely from a small cabin near the forest. I live alone. I don't talk to people much. I prefer it that way. 3 years ago, I broke up with someone I loved. She told me I was useless. She said I didn't know how to protect anyone. Those words never left me. They stayed in my head like a scar I couldn't see. Since then, I've been obsessed with one thing: protecting people, helping them when they need it most, even if I don't know them. It was the rainy season, the kind of rain that doesn't stop, the kind that floods roads and washes away bridges. News reports warned about flash floods in the mountains. I didn't think much of it until one morning. The night before, the storm had been brutal. I woke up to silence. The rain had stopped, but something felt wrong. I grabbed my jacket and went outside to check the stream near my house. That's when I heard it. A voice, weak, shaking. I walked faster. My boots sank into the mud. The air smelled like wet earth and broken trees. And then I saw her. A young woman, maybe 22. She was hiding behind a large rock near the water. Her body was soaked, her hair clung to her face. She was shivering so hard I could hear her teeth chattering from where I stood. She was barely wearing anything, just a torn, thin shirt, and a small towel wrapped around her waist. That was it. When she saw me, she panicked. Her eyes went wide. She pulled the towel tighter around herself and pressed her back against the rock. "My clothes," she whispered. Her voice was so small. "They were washed away by the river." She looked at me. Her eyes were full of fear. Not fear of the flood, fear of me. You won't look, right?" I stopped walking immediately. I turned my head away. I didn't want her to feel more scared than she already was. She was trembling. Her lips were pale, almost blue. She looked like she was about to collapse. I spoke as gently as I could. "I won't. Let me help you." She didn't move at first. She just stared at me, like she was trying to figure out if I was lying. I stayed where I was. I kept my eyes on the trees, on the ground, anywhere but her. "I'm not going to hurt you," I said, "but you need to get warm. You're freezing." She nodded slowly. Her whole body was shaking. I took off my jacket without looking at her. I held it out in her direction. "Take this. Put it on. I'll wait." There was a long pause. Then I felt her take it from my hand. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice cracked when she said it, like she didn't expect anyone to help her, like she thought she'd be left there, alone, in the cold. I didn't know her name yet. I didn't know why she was there. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let her feel unsafe. Not on my watch. Her name was Arya, she told me through chattering teeth. She had been trying to get back to town when the flood hit. The water came out of nowhere. It swept her away. She lost everything: her bag, her phone, her clothes. I wrapped my jacket around her shoulders. It was too big for her, but at least it covered her. "Please don't look," she said again. Her voice was so quiet. "It's embarrassing." I kept my eyes on the path ahead. "I won't look. You're safe." She was too weak to walk. I could see it in the way her knees buckled when she tried to stand. So I crouched down in front of her. "I'm going to carry you. Is that okay?" She hesitated, then nodded. I lifted her onto my back carefully. She was lighter than I expected, but I could feel how cold she was. Her arms wrapped around my neck loosely, like she didn't have the strength to hold on. "Please," she whispered near my ear. "Don't turn around. The towel. It's not secure." "I'm looking straight ahead," I said. "I promise." She kept adjusting the towel as we walked. Every few steps, she'd pull it tighter. I could feel her panic, her embarrassment. So I kept talking about the rain, about the trees, about anything, just so she knew I wasn't focused on her body. It took 15 minutes to get back to my cabin. I set her down gently at the door. "There's a bathroom inside," I said. "I'll get you a towel and some clothes. Take your time." I handed her a clean towel and one of my oversized shirts. She took them without looking at me. When she came out of the bathroom 20 minutes later, she looked different, calmer. Her hair was still damp, but her face had color again. She was wearing my shirt like a dress. It went down to her knees. She stood in the doorway. Her hands held the hem of the shirt nervously. "You really didn't look," she said. Her eyes searched mine. "Thank you." I nodded. "I told you I wouldn't." She looked down at her feet. A small smile appeared on her lips. It was the first time I saw her smile. I didn't think anyone would actually keep their word like that. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just pointed to the couch. "Sit," I'll make you something warm to drink. Would you trust someone who helped you like this? Comment yes or no. Arya sat by the fireplace. The warmth brought color back to her cheeks. She held the mug of tea I made her with both hands. She stared into it for a long time before she spoke. My parents divorced when I was young, she said quietly. I lived with my mom, but she was always working. I learned to take care of myself early. I sat across from her. I didn't say anything. I just listened. I've been working part-time jobs since I was 18. I needed the money. So when someone offered me cash to deliver documents to a town nearby, I said yes. She paused. Her hands tightened around the mug, but the person who hired me disappeared. They never showed up to pay me. I was stranded, no ride, no money, and then the rain started. Her voice got smaller. I tried to find shelter, but the stream, it flooded so fast I didn't see it coming. The water just pulled me in. She looked at me then. Her eyes were red. I lost everything in that water. My bag, my phone, my clothes, everything. I could see the shame in her face, the way she looked down, the way her shoulders curled inward. I've never been comfortable with my body, she admitted. Her voice cracked. That's why I panicked when you found me. I didn't want you to see me like that. I stayed quiet. I wanted her to keep talking, to let it out. My ex-boyfriend, she hesitated. He used to make fun of me. He'd laugh at how I looked. He'd compare me to other girls. He made me feel like I was disgusting. Her hands were shaking now. Since then, I can't stand it when people look at me, even just a glance. It feels like they're judging me, like they're thinking the same things he did. She wiped her eyes quickly, like she didn't want me to see her cry. That's why I kept asking you not to look. I was terrified. I thought you'd see me and think I was pathetic, ugly, worthless. I felt something tighten in my chest. This girl had been carrying so much pain, and she was still sitting here, still trying to hold herself together. I'm sorry that happened to you, I said. My voice came out quieter than I meant it to. But you're not any of those things. You know that, right? She looked up at me. Her eyes were full of doubt. I don't know, she whispered. I stopped believing that a long time ago. I didn't push, I just nodded. She was more fragile than she looked, and I understood now why she was so scared, why she couldn't trust anyone. I helped her dry her hair. She sat on the chair while I held the towel gently over her head. She didn't say anything, but I could feel her relax. After that, I made her some porridge. Simple, warm, easy to eat. She finished the whole bowl. It was the first time I saw her look comfortable. You didn't have to do all this, she said softly. I wanted to, I replied. She smiled. Just a little, but it was there. The rain didn't stop. The roads were still flooded. So Arya had to stay. I told her she could take the bedroom. I'd sleep on the couch. She refused at first, but I insisted. Eventually, she gave in. That first night, she asked me something. Why are you being so kind to a stranger? I thought about it for a moment. Then I answered, no one deserves to feel unsafe. Her face turned red. She pulled the blanket up to her nose, like she was trying to hide. You're different, she whispered. Over the next few days, we started talking more. She told me she loved to draw, that she liked watching the rain from windows, that she hated when men stared at her. I set up a space for her in the living room. I gave her some paper and pencils I had. She sat there for hours, drawing, lost in her own world. When she drew, she looked peaceful, like the weight she carried disappeared for a while. I didn't interrupt her. I just let her be. One afternoon, she showed me one of her drawings. It was a bird sitting on a branch in the rain. It's beautiful, I said. She looked away, embarrassed. You don't have to say that. I mean it. She glanced at me, then back at the drawing. A small smile appeared again. Thank you. We started spending more time together. I'd make coffee in the mornings. She'd sit by the window and sketch. Sometimes we'd talk. Sometimes we'd just sit in silence. And that was okay. She kept her distance at first, but I noticed something. Whenever I left the room, she'd look up, like she was checking if I was still there. One evening, I caught her staring at me while I was reading. What? I asked. She blushed and looked away quickly. Nothing. But I saw it. The way she looked at me. It wasn't fear anymore. It was something else, something softer. We were two broken people, both afraid of being hurt, both trying to protect ourselves. But somehow in that small cabin, we were starting to feel safe. Together. When the water finally receded, I told Arya we should go into town. She needed new clothes, real clothes, not just my oversized shirts. She agreed, but I could see the nervousness in her eyes. We walked to the small clothing store near the center of town. It was quiet, only a few people inside. Arya looked around carefully, like she was expecting someone to stare. She picked out a simple dress, long sleeves, modest, something that covered her completely. She held it up to show me. "Is this okay?" she asked. I nodded. "It looks good." She went into the fitting room. I waited outside, leaning against the wall, just scrolling through my phone. A few minutes later, she stepped out. She was wearing the dress. It fit her well. She looked beautiful, but her face was full of doubt. Is this okay?" she asked again. Her voice was so small. I looked at her, really looked at her. "You look fine, really." She smiled a little. Relief washed over her face. For a moment, I thought everything was going to be okay, but then I heard it. Two girls standing near the accessories section. They were looking at Arya, whispering. Then they started laughing. "She looks like she stole her boyfriend's clothes," one of them said, loud enough for us to hear. "Did she swim here or something?" the other one added. They both laughed harder. Arya froze. Her face went pale. She looked down at herself, at the dress, like she suddenly hated it. I stepped forward. I was about to say something, but Arya grabbed my arm. "Don't," she whispered. Her voice was shaking. "I don't want a scene." Before I could stop her, she turned and walked out of the store. Fast, like she was running away. I followed her outside. It was drizzling. Light rain. Arya sat down on the steps outside the shop. She wrapped her arms around her knees. Her head was down. "Why do people look at me like I'm disgusting?" she said. Her voice cracked. I sat down next to her. Strispa. I didn't know what to say. I just pulled off my jacket and draped it over her shoulders to shield her from the rain, from the world. She turned to look at me. Her eyes were red, filled with tears that hadn't fallen yet. "Kai," she said quietly, "are you embarrassed? Being seen with me?" The question hit me like a punch. I didn't answer right away. Not because I was embarrassed, but because I was shocked that she would even think that. But my silence was too long. Arya took it the wrong way. Tears started streaming down her face. "I knew it," she said. Her voice broke completely. "You're kind, but kindness doesn't mean you want someone like me around." "Arya, wait." But she didn't wait. She stood up, and she ran. Down the street, into the rain, away from me. I stood there, frozen. My mind was racing. I wanted to chase her, but my legs wouldn't move. Because I realized something. She didn't just think I was embarrassed. She thought I was like everyone else, that I judged her, that I saw her the way her ex did. And that hurt more than anything. I had to fix this. I had to make her understand. But first, I had to find her. I found her eventually. She came back to the cabin on her own, soaked from the rain. She didn't say a word to me. She just went straight to the living room and sat in the corner. The next day, she avoided me completely. She wouldn't look at me, wouldn't talk to me. When I brought her food, she barely touched it. She just sat there, staring at nothing. I tried to explain. I tried to tell her she had it all wrong, but every time I got close, she'd turn away. "You don't have to pretend anymore," she said once. Her voice was flat, empty. That was all she said. I didn't know what to do. I felt helpless, like I was watching someone drown and I couldn't reach them. That night, I heard something. A sound so quiet I almost missed it. Crying. Coming from the living room, I stood outside the door. I didn't go in. I just listened. "Why am I like this?" she whispered to herself. "Why can't I be normal?" Her voice was so broken, so full of pain. It made my chest ache. I wanted to burst in, to hold her, to tell her she was wrong. But I knew she wouldn't listen. Not yet, so instead I made her tea. Warm, the way she liked it. I left it outside the door. I didn't knock. I just set it down and walked away. A few minutes later, I heard the door open, then close again. The next morning, the cup was empty, sitting on the table. She still didn't talk to me, but at least she drank the tea. Another day passed, then another. She stayed in that corner like she was hiding from the world, from me. On the third night, I was sitting on the couch, reading, trying to distract myself. When I heard her voice, "Kai!" I looked up. She was standing in the doorway. Her eyes were puffy. Her face was pale. She looked exhausted. "Do I bother you?" she asked quietly. The question broke me. I put the book down. I looked at her. Really looked at her. "No," I said. "You don't bother me." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. "Then why didn't you say anything?" she asked. When I asked if you were embarrassed, you just stayed silent. I stood up, slowly. I didn't want to scare her. I wasn't embarrassed, I said. I was shocked. Shocked that you thought I could ever feel that way about you. She looked down. Her hands gripped the edge of her shirt. I don't know what to believe anymore, she whispered. Then let me show you, I said. Let me prove it. She looked up at me, her eyes searching mine, looking for the truth. How? She asked. Sit down, I said gently, and let me explain everything. Arya sat down across from me. Her hands were in her lap. She was picking at her fingers nervously. She wouldn't look at me. I took a deep breath. I needed to say this right. That day, I started, when I found you by the river. Do you remember what you said? She nodded slowly. You said your clothes were washed away, and you asked me not to look. She looked up at me now. Her eyes were full of confusion. I didn't look, Arya. Not because you're ugly, not because I didn't want to see you. I didn't look because you were scared. Her lip trembled, but she stayed quiet. You were vulnerable. You were afraid, and I didn't want to make that worse. I didn't want to be another person who made you feel unsafe. I leaned forward, my elbows on my knees, looking straight at her. I've spent 3 years hating myself because someone I loved told me I couldn't protect anyone, that I was useless. And when I found you that day, all I could think was, I have to help her. I have to make sure she's okay. Arya's eyes started to water. So when you asked if I was embarrassed to be seen with you, I paused. I wasn't embarrassed, Arya. I was heartbroken because I realized you saw yourself the way my ex saw me. Worthless, not good enough. A tear rolled down her cheek. But you're not worthless, I said. My voice was firm now. You're beautiful. You're kind. You're talented. And I'm not saying that to make you feel better. I'm saying it because it's true. She covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. She was crying. No one has ever said that to me, she whispered through her tears. I stood up. I walked over to her slowly. I knelt down in front of her and I gently reached up and touched her hair, just lightly, so she knew I was there. I want you to feel safe when you're with me, I said softly. Not scared, not ashamed, safe. She looked up at me. Her face was red, her eyes were swollen, but there was something else in them now. Hope. Kai, she whispered. Do you mean it? Every word? I nodded. Every single one. She let out a sob, and then she leaned forward and wrapped her arms around me, tight, like she was holding on for dear life. I held her back. I didn't say anything else. I just let her cry. Let her let it all out. She was shaking, but this time it wasn't from the cold. It wasn't from fear. It was from relief. Thank you, she whispered into my shoulder. Thank you for not giving up on me. I closed my eyes and I held her tighter. I never will, I said. And I meant it. Everything changed after that night. Arya started to trust me, really trust me. Not the kind of trust that comes from fear, but the kind that comes from knowing someone truly cares. She stopped hiding in oversized clothes. She wore what made her comfortable. She smiled more, laughed more. The weight she carried seemed lighter. She started helping me around the cabin, cooking breakfast, cleaning up, making the place feel like a home instead of just a house. We'd go for walks together, through the forest, into town. She didn't flinch when people looked at her anymore. She'd hold her head up, and if someone stared too long, she'd just look away, unbothered. One evening, she came to me with her sketchbook, the one I'd given her. She looked nervous, excited, like she had a secret she wanted to share. I want to show you something, she said. She opened the book, and inside were 3 drawings, all of me. The first one showed me turning my head away, my jacket in my hand, extended toward her. The day I found her. The second one was me carrying her on my back, my eyes looking straight ahead, her arms around my neck. The third one was me holding an umbrella over her, outside the clothing store, shielding her from the rain. I stared at them. I didn't know what to say. These, she said softly, are the moments I felt safe for the first time. Her voice cracked a little. Thank you for not looking that day. I looked up at her. She was smiling, but there were tears in her eyes. Happy tears. I set the sketchbook down carefully, and I looked at her, really looked at her. I didn't look then, I said slowly, but now, may I? She blinked, confused at first, then she understood. I wasn't asking to see her body. I was asking to see her, all of her, the person she was, the person she'd been hiding. Her face turned bright red. She nodded, slowly. Yes, she whispered. I smiled, and I reached out and took her hand. You're beautiful, Aria, inside and out, and I'm grateful I found you that day. She squeezed my hand. Her smile grew wider. I'm grateful you didn't look, she said, because if you had, I never would have trusted you, and I never would have known what it feels like to be safe with someone. We stood there, in the quiet cabin, holding hands, two broken people who found healing in each other. Aria wasn't scared anymore, and I wasn't useless anymore. We had both been drowning, in pain, in shame, in the past, but we pulled each other out, together. And for the first time in years, I felt like I had finally protected someone. Not from danger, but from loneliness, from fear, from themselves. And that was enough. If this story warmed your heart, hit follow so you won't miss the next one.